Here's the thing. I think that private institutions will always either form a government or make moves to subvert a government because it's in their best interest to monopolize force. It's in their best interest to do it, just like it's in our best interest as Christians to monopolize the force apparatus of the state as well. If you want to scale back aspects of the state, fuck, great. I want to scale back aspects of the state too.
Well,
but that really ultimately has
so
nothing to do.
What aspects do you want to scale back?
Oh, I'd like to scale back, especially social spending when it comes to social safety nets. I'd like to scale back a lot.
Why would you want to? I'm just curious. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so why do you want to scale back social aspects of the state?
Dave Smith and Andrew Wilson in an epic debate over libertarianism and Christian populism. This is a tough one for me because I describe myself as somewhat libertarian in nature, Christian in nature, nationalist in nature, populist in nature. So I've got a little bit of Andrew Wilson in me, a little bit of comic Dave Smith in me. These are two guys I highly respect. Dave Smith is part of the problem, absolutely schools, though, Andrew Wilson, who has good points, too. Andrew Wilson of the Crucible in this segment. Andrew came in hot with the Christian pitch, but Dave lets him know that you actually believe taxation is theft, even if you don't know it. Dave Smith, Andrew Wilson, part of the problem, the Crucible. Shout out to Robbie the Fire Bernstein, Dave Smith's partner. Let's hear how this unfolds.
Because I think that many of those social aspects are violations of ethical concerns. So an ethical concern of robbing Peter to pay Paul, various things like this, I think that those are unethical. Those are ethics concerns.
Okay, and why? Why is that unethical?
Yeah, the reason why Dave Smith is doing the why is to lay a foundation, and this is why he's the number one debate bro out there right now. Young Nick Fury is really good, but he's not in the circuit right now. He's doing his own thing. I wish he would have a conversation with Dave Smith, but whoever you pick who is in the circuit doing debates, and Dave Smith does a lot of them, he's the number one guy. Let's get back to this.
It's unethical because I follow Christian ethics, and under this particular ethical framework, we would say that this type of theft would be incorrect, and that the state apparatus, it's not really their concern to move into that. That would be charitable organizations which would move into doing distribution that way.
What Andrew Wilson is saying, he does not believe that the government should take taxes and redistribute the wealth. You could call this, it is my definition at least, of socialism. He's saying he doesn't believe that. So Dave Smith is trying to lay the foundation to say, this is more high level than some of the other after show carnages. What Dave Smith is trying to get him to say is, what's your reasoning there? Because it applies to all government taxation, all government spending. And once you go down that route, you're a libertarian, whether you know it or not, Andrew.
I'm so curious about this. So I just have to ask, because you kind of like grilled me before about what my ethics are. So what is it? So
we share the same we share the same ethics. So sure, I don't know what your argument is.
I'm not making an argument. I'm asking a question. So robbing Peter to pay Paul, why is that unethical? What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm saying that if you have centralized relocation from the successful to the non-successful, the reason that this becomes an ethical concern is because you're engaging in theft, obvious theft.
Okay, but isn't that always what government does by its nature?
No.
Is robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Yes,
no, I don't think that taxation is necessarily theft in many circumstances. I think it can be theft.
What makes it theft in your description, but not in others?
Do you see the quandary that Dave Smith got Andrew Wilson in? I've never seen Andrew Wilson this shook before. He said it's theft if you take my money and give it to a homeless guy or give it to somebody who has 5 kids and 5 baby daddies for welfare or Section 8 or food stamps. That is theft. Comic Dave Smith says, well, then it's all theft. The government doesn't make any revenue other than taking it from people. So when it takes the money, it's redistributing it to do what? Roads, security, whatever. All of it is theft.
In which description?
So you just said it's obviously theft to rob Peter to pay Paul. So what made that theft and what makes it not theft in other situations?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding the question correctly. Can you
He's
give me an
saying-
example?
You just said in your example that this was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's
Yeah.
theft. So what makes it theft in that situation, but not theft in other situations?
Like what other situation are you
Any
talking
other,
about?
dude,
I
in
just
this-
need a comparison real quick so I understand what you're asking.
What makes it in any other situation that government takes
Andrew Wilson's on the ropes and he's trying to deflect the punches. And Dave Smith is so good. How is Dave Smith figuratively punching? By asking questions. And Andrew Wilson having to answer the questions, he knows that he's getting twisted into a pretzel. He's stalling. You'll hear comic Dave Smith in a second say, bruh, you're stalling.
money from people, not theft, but in the one you just labeled theft.
You mean, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying, why is it theft to take a bunch of money out of a rich guy's account and give it to a guy, who's just poor because you want to, versus some other unique situation like infrastructure spending or things like this?
What you just said, Andrew. Stop buying time, man. I'm just curious.
I'm not
What
trying
do
to
you
buy
mean?
time. I just want to get it
What do you mean by that?
clarified. I just want it clarified. I don't think that infrastructure spending is theft. I don't think that taxation, property taxation even is theft. I don't think those things are theft. I think that a direct taking of your account for the purposes of giving it to a social group based on immutable characteristics is theft. That would be theft.
I'm just curious. What makes that theft?
That you're taking a thing which does not belong to you and creating a distribution of the thing which doesn't belong to you.
But so why wouldn't that be true for property taxes?
Because you don't actually own the property.
What?
Right. So, but you just said they're taking something that doesn't belong to you. So, do you actually own that property?
No, this is why I'm saying that the construction,
So why was that theft?
the construction of ownership is just that, a construction. So
but
property
Andrew,
is a
hold on,
construction.
Andrew, I think I have you in something here, and I think you know I do. Why was it?
No,
theft
I just
in your
want to make
example?
sure I'm
No,
clarified.
No, you do. And comic Dave Smith is laughing. And he did it with such ease. I don't know how Andrew Wilson got himself into this, but I'm more libertarian leaning. So Dave Smith would have never got me. Well, I learned from Dave Smith, so it would have been hard for him to get me on the path where he already taught me. But now it's Andrew Wilson's time. Now it's for you in the crucible. It's your time to sit down and take notes.
Why was it theft in your example? Why did you own it in your example, but not in mine?
Because I don't really understand your example. That's why I'm trying to get it clarified.
It wasn't mine. It was yours. I'm saying
Yes, the
your
example
You
of
called
scaling
it theft.
back to rob Peter to pay Paul, I would say that is theft. However,
Why?
taxation for property, I would not say it is because
when
it's
you're
based.
robbing Peter to pay
because it's
Paul,
based-
why is it theft?
Yeah, because it's based around the construction which we have for theft or non-theft for property. That's the point.
If I may, if I can try to
all right.
clarify, I'm not trying to make anyone's argument.
Yeah. Just clarify what he's talking
I think
about.
This is what's going on. Dave's saying, look, if under your theory, all taxation would be theft because it's taking away from a person and giving to someone else. You
Okay.
seem to be saying it's not theft if it's giving to sort of a public good. So like property tax to pay for roads, that's not theft. But property tax, presumably you would say this, property tax to pay for welfare for single mothers, that would be theft, or to pay for LGBT issues or something like that. So he's saying, why isn't the property tax always theft? And you seem to be saying it's only theft if that money is given to particular entities. He's asking why that's the case.
Oh, based on immutable versus non-immutable. So if you are utilizing infrastructure and things like this, and you're paying for that infrastructure, you have local levies which are gone through and voted on for that infrastructure. That can't be theft because essentially the majority of your population is volunteering to move that money into the government coffers for that purpose. Whereas there is no such thing as voluntarism when it comes to the government levying your account. That's not voluntary and never
What are you
has
talking
been.
about?
However, you have what's called,
Sorry.
I'm going to explain. You have what's
Sorry, go
called
ahead.
duties, right? Duties.
That's a wrap. Andrew Wilson is not making any sense. He started out making sense. His first point here was that if you are a libertarian and cap, which comic Dave Smith is, you get rid of the government completely. you only have private businesses. Andrew's first take, if I'm going to bring it back here, his first take was, well, if you get rid of the government and only have private businesses, the government's just a business anyway. So all you've done is get rid of competition for other private businesses, and those private businesses, whether it's Raytheon or Palantir or Tesla or SpaceX, they would become the government.
But here's the thing.
Part of it.
But here's the thing. I think that private institutions will always either form a government or make moves to subvert a government because it's in their best interest to monopolize force. It's in their best interest to do it, just like it's in our best interest.
Andrew Wilson started off this clip with a great point, and then it went sideways really quickly. He hasn't thought through these ideas of liberty. Andrew Wilson, I guarantee you, can't define libertarianism. I'm going to end with this. Andrew Wilson got caught in a pretzel by Dave Smith because Andrew Wilson, I guarantee you, can't define what libertarianism is. Libertarianism is the maximization, or I should just say the belief, any ism is a belief, the belief that we should maximize decentralization of power, peace, and the opportunity for prosperity, meaning private property rights. Those three things, maximizing those three things, is the definition that I learned from Comic Dave Smith of libertarianism. It applies to anything. Andrew Wilson says, well, if you take taxes from me, property, money is your form of property. If you take it from me for the roads, and I have no choice. HOA fees are not theft. You have a choice to move, you can do it. In the US, taxes are not a choice. If you take taxes from me for something I don't like, it's theft. If you take taxes from me for something I do like, then that's okay. He doesn't know what he's talking about on this topic here, and that's why Dave Smith wrapped it up real quick.